Look at MSNBC. You mentioned Chris Hayes. Rachel Maddow has never backed off of this. She was as deep into all this nonsense as anyone. There was a report she was just renegotiating her deal with MSNBC. They reportedly were trying to get her to stay for $35 million a year. That's what that kind of lying gets you. $35 million a year at the NBC empire. Okay. There's no accountability. There's no disincentive to keep doing it. And people who watch her think that she's the most credible person in news.
You know, I would say there's 4 journalists who were most responsible for this Trump Alpha Bank story, which the indictment itself, and remember, this indictment was issued by John Durham, who's a longtime respected prosecutor, but with the approval of Merrick Garland, Biden's attorney general. So there's zero partisanship going on in the Durham investigation, at least so far as we know. Mm-hmm. But certainly Merrick Garland approved this indictment, and this indictment says that this story was fake, and that the FBI concluded early on that it was fake. The reporters most responsible for pushing it, Rachel Maddow, Chris Hayes, Natasha Bertrand, and Frank Foer, not one of them, Megyn, not one, has even acknowledged this indictment or mentioned it, let alone held themselves accountable for what they did in light of these new facts. Why? Because they know their jobs don't require that. They know that their viewers don't care if they tell lies as long as those lies serve the right political side. That is the warped incentive scheme that has been created. I mean, you know, look, I was close friends with Rachel Maddow for a long time. I used to go on her show all the time. She's an extremely smart journalist, an extremely smart human being. But over the last 5 years, she became probably the single most partisan loyalist on television, even more than some of the people on Fox who I would put into that same category, willing to say or do anything as long as it advanced the cause of undermining Donald Trump. And as a result, she made one falsehood after the next, peddled one insane conspiracy after the next, theory after the next. You could watch her virtually crying on TV, talking about how Vladimir Putin is going to cut off all the heat to people in North Dakota. I mean, crazy, crazy stuff that got debunked over and over. She was the prime champion of the Steele dossier that has been now wildly discredited. And as you say, not only didn't she suffer any repercussions, she got richly rewarded. And that was the incentive scheme that has now been created, which is if you lie on behalf of American liberalism, that is the way to succeed and thrive in journalism. And that's what's so deeply concerning.
That's the thing. I don't even know that I was going to say she was used. She was used by them. But I think that's too generous to her. I think she was on the inner circle. She understood. I don't think she was duped. I think she understood that there was very good reason to doubt all of this, but she's so agenda driven and perhaps driven to line her own wallet that she didn't care.
Yeah, you know, it's always hard to know other people's motives, right? I mean, it's hard to know our own, but sometimes it could just be that you become such a fanatic, right? You become so fanatical and convinced that your cause is just that you lose willingly any moral constraints on what you do. You just tell yourself, I never need to pull back and ask whether what I'm doing is right or whether what I'm saying is true, because what I know foundationally is that my cause is so just. I'm such a deeply good person that anything I do is justified, kind of a means justify, an ends justify the means mentality. And I think that was at least part of what her and so many other people in media ended up getting swept up in. Some of them are just dumb.